Hello, everyone. Welcome to Samanvay Space. My name is Fawzia Farooqi. I teach at Princeton University. I teach Hindi, Urdu, South Asian literatures, Indian culture, and gender and sexuality studies courses at Princeton. I'm also the executive director and the content and curation head of Samanvay Space. Samanvay Space is a non-profit cultural organization dedicated to the preservation, promotion, all forms of Indian arts and literatures, both locally and globally. Every weekend, we host 5 online events. This event is a part of our talk and discussion focused event series, Art a Perspective. I will let Sunila Golapuri, the moderator of the session and a Samanvay team member, introduce the discussion topic of the session, as well as our very accomplished panelists today. But before I hand it over to Sunila, let me share with you why this particular session is a very important occasion for us here for Samanvay. This session is directly linked with an entire area of our mission, vision, and endeavor of Samanvay Space, which is promoting visual arts and artists through our online art gallery. We are very proud and excited to announce that this coming Monday on July 27th, we are launching our online art gallery on our website, www.samanvay.space, and opening our first art exhibition, Perspective. Perspective aims to bring together a combination of established, experienced, and upcoming artists to share their perspectives through their artworks. By including works by 29 Indian artists from various corners of the country, we hope to showcase a wide variety of artworks, representing a diverse range of styles and perspectives that connect simultaneously with the artist's individuality as well as India's rich cultural landscape. Samanvay is committed to all forms of Indian arts and working with all forms of arts, including but not limited to music and performing arts, poetry and literary arts, visual and material arts is our specialty. And that puts us apart from most of the cultural organizations working in the Indian cultural landscape. So Allama Iqbal, the poet who gave us this beautiful song, Sare Jahan Se Acha, Hindostan Hamara, really puts all forms of arts in one couplet and points towards the source of all of them. He says, Rang ho ya khishto sang, Rang ho ya khishto sang, Chang ho ya harf saut, mojizae fan ki hai, khoon jigar se namood, which means whether it is color or clay or stone, whether it is string or word or voice, the sources of all arts, or the source of all arts is Khuni Jigar, the blood of the heart, referring to the passion and commitment of first and foremost, obviously, of the artist. However, in order for art to flourish in a society, we need other people in the society who are passionate and committed to art and artistic endeavors, like art lovers, collectors, curators, critics, and cultural activists. And I'm very, very excited to see that many of them actually are part of this panel today. And these people who are often not paid attention to and who constantly work behind the scene. So speaking of constantly working behind the scene, I must give credit to Pawan Jain, the managing director of Samanvay Space, who has brought us all together in the service of art and who keeps us going through his infectious energy and unmatchable speed. Well, his name is Pawan, which means wind. So I also congratulate the entire Samanvay visual art team, and Sunila is a part of that, Vijay Ramamji is a part of that, for constantly working for months to put this online art exhibition Perspective together. I particularly want to congratulate Bhamni Shri and Atrai Banerjee, 2 young artists and art activists, for curating this exhibition. And last but not least, Sunila Golapuri, who has built the online exhibition site for us and is also moderating this panel today. And of course, our technology director, Amit Bhushan, who is a trustee and who is responsible for everything related to technology for Samanvay space. And for an online exhibition, his contribution, his role is very, very important. So speaking of Sunila, Sunila is a multifaceted personality. She is an IT professional, a classical Indian dancer, a jewelry maker, and an artist herself. She's a member of Samanvay Curators team and Samanvay Visual Art team. Thank you, Sunila, for your hard work and valuable contribution to Samanvay. And I will let you start the panel now. Thank you, everyone. I'm very excited. I will now going to turn my microphone off and just sit back and enjoy this panel discussion. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Fauzia. It was a great introduction. Nobody else can better explain and introduce Samanvay efforts more than you. Thank you very much for introducing me too. So very, very warm welcome this evening. And I must tell you, I'm extremely excited because we have an extremely eminent and accomplished panel with us today. And in the next hour to come, I only hope to do justice to the knowledge, to the experience that our panelists bring in today. I will also be introducing our online platform and the benefits and what we are looking at providing to all the artists. Fauzia spoke about 29 artists we're launching our first online exhibition with. I'll be walking through. So today we have top art historians, art curators, artists themselves, and art connoisseurs in our panel. And it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce them and their contributions in the world of visual arts. I would like to start with Dr. Ashrafi S. Bhagat. Dr. Ashrafi holds a PhD in art history and art aesthetics. It's for more than 8 years now. She's been working as an independent art historian and art critic. She's had a credit, to her credit, she has had many papers and books, publications on her name. She is one of the topmost art curators today and has done some stellar curations as well. Her work, for that matter, in fact, she has got a credit paper titled Lineage of Abstraction within the Madras Art Movement, published in the book The New Art History, Studies in Indian Art in 2003. She's written monographs on many eminent Madras artists, and she's been invited to be a part of art historian residence at international universities, and her contributions are immense in this. What I would like to focus is two important things about Dr. Ashrafi today. One is her curation, retrospective exhibition of the collage artist V.V. Ramani, titled Impressions to Expression, Interface with Paper in Chennai in 2016. This was one of the most accomplished work that she's very well known for. And also her publication of the critical survey of Madras art movement. So what she's done is she's actually curated a Madras modern online art curation, where she's actually featured ceremonial artists from the Madras art movement, and where it actually navigates the emergence of modernity in the South, particularly from the erstwhile city of Madras. So how much ever I would explain about Dr. Ashrafi, it would be very less. In fact, I'll speak more about Dr. Ashrafi when we go through the rounds. She's worked very closely with Prakash Garu, late Prakash Garu, and her works. I'll speak a little more about that. A warm welcome to our panel today, Dr. Ashrafi. I would like to quickly spend some time about our second panelist today, Mr. Sanjeev Kandeker.
Thank you, Sunila, for that very generous introduction.
My pleasure. It's less. Anything said about you is very less.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Thank you and welcome. I would like to introduce a second panelist, Mr. Sanjeev Kandeker. Now, what do I say about this man? I mean, he started as a poet, as a writer. He takes inspiration from nature. He turned to visual arts when he thought words are not enough to express. Now, he reminds me of Rabindranath Tagore to me and his accomplishments. So, a very quick introduction about him. Mr. Sanjeev Kandeker is actually a reputed Marathi writer and visual artist based in Mumbai. With his solo exhibition of watercolors, Rumor of Truth, in 2003, Mr. Kandeker occasioned the arrival of his pictorial vocabulary. His collections include 3 volumes of poetry, All I Want to Do in 2005, Mulatis, Mundantis, sorry, Mr. Sanjeev, I pronounced it wrong, in 2006, and 2 poems in 2006. His 2 books, 1, 2, 3, Happy Galaxy, and collections of his present poetry, Miles, was published in 2007. He is inspired by nature. He is all his work that you see are brilliant, and a lot of times in his work you see a lot of communication that happens beyond words and vocabulary. So Mr. Sanjay Kaneker never lifted a paintbrush, even dreamt of being an artist until 1996, and that's really amazing about somebody like him. When he was 40 years old, that's when he picked up visual arts. This novelist and author turned artist says he was forced to abandon writing and turn to painting as a form of expression, simply because his words were not enough. So, Mr. Sanjeev Kandeker, please a warm welcome to our panel today. And again, the kind of experience you bring in, the kind of in-depth intellect that you hold in the panel is very, very valued, and look forward to discuss with you. Our third panelist, Koili Mukherjee. She's an art historian. Now, she brings a very unique angle to the panel. I'm very proud to introduce her. She brings an angle of valuing artworks, right? She brings in a value, I mean, in terms of perspectives, she talks about how do you value an artwork, why art is an asset, how does she work with art collectors? I mean, she brings in a different perspective, being an artist herself too, right? So Koili Mukherjee, she's an art historian and a curator. She's proprietary of Image Craft Studio. It's an art and design studio, and she holds exhibitions, and she also documents art for the artist. She facilitates art organizations for showcasing contemporary and traditional arts, identifying art training, and facilitating service in select art galleries in the country. Now, this is pretty unique. I've seen many art connoisseurs doing many things for artists, but Ms. Koili, I really appreciate your initiative on the aspect of training bit, right? I don't think I see many people focusing on that. So it's brilliant to see. She actually focuses on developing sound understanding through writing and professional practice, while curating and informing of the change in forms. She articulates contextual relevance of the work in the art. And like I said, she works towards accelerating sales of premium work. I mean, this is very important, right? We have so many prominent artists. How do we position the artists? How do we make it reachable to the art collectors? How do we value them? How do we explain the value of these artworks is an art in itself. So Ms. Koili, congratulations on this. I'm very proud to have you on the panel. She actually is a display, lighting, tagging, pricing, purchase and sales of artworks. She facilitates artists through articulation, contextualization. She writes for them, and she herself has an expertise in drawing with handcrafted bamboo quilts, layered work on canvas. So very, very, very warm welcome to Ms. Koili Kandeker. Sorry, Koili Mukherjee. I'm really sorry for the misspelling of the word. Ms. Koili Mukherjee, welcome aboard. We've got Mr. Vikas Magrare. Mr. Vikas, again, brings a very, very interesting and unique angle. He's been working with a lot of corporates, and he's been in service industry, social entrepreneurship professional. He has been for 19 years now, and he's worked with union and state governments and several donor funds projects with focus on heritage, art and culture. He's been involved into events, planning and projects management for several years, and has extensively worked on outreach. So today, Mr. Vikas, I'll be focusing a lot of discussion with you around the outreach work you've been doing, collaboration with the corporates, and your opinion on how we should be working with corporates and corporate social responsibility as such right? Because of your background, you've got varied scales of events you've handled, live concerts you've handled, festivals, conventions. And just to mention, not to miss, he's actually worked as Deputy Director, Sectoral Competitiveness for Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, Andhra Pradesh, where he looked after 10 different verticals of Indian industry and organized state level, national level, global seminars and conferences. So he's connect with Spick McKay, he's connect with Prasar Bharati, he's been a part of Kala Mela, and to name a few. And I think the session wouldn't be enough if I were to explain his accomplishments. A very, very warm welcome, Mr. Vikas, to a session today. And last but not least, Vijay Ramam, Ms. Vijay Ramam, Garu, please welcome to our session. Vijay Ramam Garu is actually our trustee as well at Samanvay, and she's an experienced administrator with a specialization in hospital management. And she's an art enthusiast, connoisseur, and she's been very deeply associated with LV Prasad. She operated as she's a deputy director for almost 33 years of administration at LV Prasad Eye Institute. And I'll talk a little more about Ms. Vijay Ramam Garu, and she actually has been instrumental in setting up the entire art exhibition at LV Prasad. So again, she's been associated with bigger forums, her corporate social responsibility, and how she has worked closely with Prakash Garu, late Prakash Garu, and how she promoted all these art exhibitions and trainings and galleries through LV Prasad. We would love to learn a lot. I know Vijay Ramam Garu through a dance field, so it's very great to connect with you on this too. A very, very warm welcome to you, Ms. Vijay Ramam. Before we kick off with perspective, right, I would like to very quickly spend a minute on late Sri Surya Prakash Garu. It's been a year that we don't have him around us. We would like to pay homage to him. All the artwork.
It's Surya Prakash.
Late Surya Prakash Garu. Thank you so much. Sorry for that. Late Surya Prakash Garu. He's been even today living through his art. In fact, his artworks, Miss Arun, his daughter, has agreed to have them in our first online gallery. We are really, really privileged to have such eminent artists like Surya Prakash Garu and have his art put on our art gallery. I want to spend a minute on him. In fact, Miss Arun, his daughter, she is currently running a dedicated art gallery called Surya Gallery on his name. In fact, Mr. Surya Prakash Garu has been the first and foremost artist who's actually set up an art gallery in 1992 in the name of Surya Gallery. And her daughter is continuing the legacy, and she's hosting her father's artwork at the gallery, and helping fans like us, people like us, art lovers like us, really appreciate and enjoy late Surya Prakash Garu's work as well. Just a quick word, Mr. Surya Prakash Garu, he always loved encouraging young artists. So he was, he conducted several BART camps at both institutes like LV Prasad Institute, CCMB, many places. So we'll speak a little more about it because we have both Vijay Ramam Garu and Dr. Ashrafi, associated with Satya Prakash Garu in different capacities. So with this, I will quickly spend not more than a couple of minutes about perspective and our first online art gallery from Samanvay Space. I'm very proud to introduce. I would like to give my hearty congratulations and hard work that Bhamini Shri and Atri has put as a part of curating this event. It's not been easy at all. They've been doing a lot of heavy lifting for this. They brought together for us 29 eminent artists, as Fauziya mentioned in the beginning. And what we've done is, as you know, we're all going digital, and it's very important for us to understand the importance of digital platforms. And it's not about COVID, it's not about pandemic, but it's about how online art is revealing and how beneficial it's becoming. I think one of the things I was talking to Pavan and Fauzia as well, while I was talking about this whole online thing, was earlier, erstwhile, when art exhibitions used to happen, the artists would depend on public events published on the newspapers, or they would go to events page and they would like to understand what's happening in the city. But now, what you have to understand is every artist has got such a big collaborative platform today to express. We see artists who are doing their entire artwork, they're demonstrating, through videos, they're talking, they're publishing their work, taking care of these IPs and multiple things. We all should appreciate on what this coronavirus is exposed to us. I think if you've not pushed to the corner, none of the artists would have probably tried even exploring some of the technology and digital platforms that we are doing today. And through perspective, one of the biggest thing we're doing is we're trying to give the same art experience as an art lover would get when he would enter an exhibition, right? Simple things like his time with the artists, how he would explain his artwork, and the kind of communication they have, the connect the art lover makes with the artist himself, or the kind of view he gets to the artwork. We're trying to facilitate all those things through our platform. So I'll be talking a little more about overall marketing, overall the CSR, overall the platform. But what I would do is, before we go in and start talking to Mr. Sanjeev today, I would very quickly show you for 2 minutes on our platform that we have today. As of today, we've launched a preview. We have not launched the store yet, where people can see artwork. So let me just quickly share my screen. I hope all of you can see my screen now.
Yeah.
Very quickly, you can actually access the art gallery link on Samanvay space. And what we've done is we have picked 8 artists out of 29 artists today, and we're giving a quick preview of the exhibition that's coming up on 27th, the Monday. We're running it for 45 days, and you can see all the work, the goal of perspective and previous visual art events that we have conducted as a part of this space. In accessible. And here, you can actually access the artworks which are on display. Preview of those, of these 8 artists which are placed out here, and very quickly introduction to our 8 artists. So this is just a preview, but please remember that we have 29 artists, and on 27th we'll be launching the complete website with all the artists. So I would like to show the preview as well for a minute. It's very important for one reason, that I was talking about giving an experience of the art gallery to the artists, right? One second, let me just quickly take you there. So this is a preview we're launching on 27th. There are some technology aspects. So one important aspect I would like to touch is, how are we giving confidence to artists today, right? In terms of protecting and securing the artwork, right? If you've got an online exhibition today, you know that the artwork is available and the visitors come and see it. But the problem with online platforms is the security today. So we'll speak more with our panelists today on their opinions, but very simple things we have taken care as a part of Samanvay platform, like taking care of thumbnails, smaller resolutions, watermarks, giving in smaller zoom-ins, right? They can reach out to the artists themselves and talk to get a full view before they would like to acquire the art and have them at their houses, right, at their residences. So if you look at it, we've actually given a single page for each of the artists. So when you see the bigger art list page out here of the artists, you can actually go to each of these profiles in the main page, and you can actually see more details. For example, the entire artwork of each artist is displayed, right? Their entire profile is available here. We have dedicated pages for them. And what we're doing, one interesting thing is we're displaying their artwork at this page. They can go directly access the store, order from there, pre-order, whatever they can do. They can zoom in and see quick views out here. And we're giving a dedicated visitors book for each of the artists. So in case the art lovers would like to leave messages to our eminent artists, whose art is on display, they could leave this. So for that matter, in fact, they could go directly to the art gallery from here. They could add to the cart, they could see the descriptions. So we've got a complete shop that we're enabling and all the events we're doing. The interesting part is, I think, what difference Samanvay as a platform brings is not like any other online gallery, but it brings that community connect, right? What I mean by that is all the artists communicate, they come together, and all the sales proceeds. Samanvay is looking at giving it towards the artists' welfare and art communities, building more art communities. I think that's where the difference comes. So for each of these artwork, you can click, go on, you can see for the artists, you can see more details about it, you can add, you can zoom in to whatever extent required, you could see. So this is a preview of the entire bigger website that we created, which takes care of a lot of aspects. With this, I would like to get to a panel now. I'm sure all of you are looking forward to talk to the panel, learn from their experience, understand multiple things. So I would like to start with Mr. Sanjeev Kandeker. So let me just stop sharing my screen to start with. Mr. Sanjeev, a very warm welcome again. I'm really so excited to see such a varied personality as you, with a background in poetry, in literature, then in artwork. Like I said, you remind me of Rabindranath Tagore ji, and he tried his inspirations from there. So to start with, I want to understand if you can share your experience on your journey with art and the kind of art medium you have chosen, and the reception of the artwork by the recipients, art lovers, and art curator partnerships you had. Could you just quickly throw a light on what you're seeing from your experience and the new technology platforms?
Couple of things I would like to, when I just reorganize myself on this question, the 3-4 areas which, one is of course my own journey as an artist. Second is relationship with my recipients, those who respond to my works. And three, of course, the idea of using technology, mediums. In my case, as you rightly said, I had started a little late as a artist. It was a period of 90s, beginning of 90s. And the world was changing in a variety of ways. Entire world was changing. Politically, socially, culturally, economically. The whole idea of globalization came up. Idea of information technology came up. Genome map was being ready. A lot of genetical experiments were being done. Major event in the world politics was the idea of Cold War was almost over. Entire East Europe was getting up into the in a new democratic or capitalist way. Soviet Russia broke down into pieces. Armenia different, Georgia different, Chechnya different, Russia itself different. And of course, the idea of Cold War was not there. The idea of non-aligned movement was not there, which we were part of it. So historically, everything was changing. And as a writer and a poet, I was looking at these changes and I was not able to assimilate them properly. So I had some kind of problem of putting this down into the words. Around that time, I remember my mentor or one of the persons who I respect most in my life, Vijay Tendulkar, is no more now. So he told me that Sanjeev, you're not able to put things down together. If you're not able to write, do something else that will help you to write. So I said, what do I do? He said, do something, anything. You guys, other than literature, do anything. You get into painting, you get into music, you get into something else, read about physics, mathematics, whatever, but just don't look at the literature at all. And that's how, at that point of time, I picked up the brush for the first time in my hand, and I started painting. It was fantastic experience. I mean, I realized that painting, for the first time, I realized this is a biological experience first. I mean, it's just not, it is, of course, it's a creative journey, but it has got a lot of biological experience. When you paint, literally, I mean, whatever adrenaline, testosterone, whatever, everything, I mean, it flows into you. And it was fantastic. Maybe it was therapeutic at that point of time for me, but it started working on me. I started, I was like a child. I was painting everything. Whatever in front of me, I used to paint. I used to paint my walls. I used to paint bathroom. I used to paint my bed sheets. I used to paint my pillows. I mean, anywhere, wherever I get some kind of a space, that space will be my canvas. And I used to use any kind of material. I tried watercolors, I tried some other things, and it was very interesting. And I started looking at it again and again. And I was not knowing whether this is art, this is not art. So I had no, I mean, there's no barriers. So I was expressing the way I wanted to. It was fantastic thing. So things, as a writer, I had barriers. Those barriers started collapsing here. And something else started coming up. It was eruption of volcano inside. And then one of these days, some of the friends, I started showing my, I think this is what I'm doing. This is what I showed it to Vijay Tendulkar also, and a couple of others, and many others. And one of them, of course, I mean, person Vaishali Narkar, with whom I'm collaborating for last so many years. Together, we started working from 2002 onwards, and we continued together. All my works today are not my alone work, but we sit together. And so she looked at the works and she said, "Oh, this is, I want to frame them up, and then I want to put it up. And this is something interesting. You're doing something out of box, and that's very important." So she had done her JJ School of Art, and like so I was regarding her like, oh, she knows something. So naturally, it started from there. And then, of course, variety of friends I made in the art field. I don't want to take names because so many people contributed to tell me, shape me, help me, show me something else. And it started, this is how it started. But of course, I remember in first few years, I used to produce a huge amount of works. I mean, at a time, my whole, and there was energy was flowing like mad. I used to work entire night, all day, almost 20 hours a day, and I never used to, get fatigued, tired, or something. Every day there was a new idea, something new. And then what happened? After that, when I started showing actually, I mean, Jahangir Art Gallery shows and subsequent Pandol shows, some other shows, then I started exploring variety of mediums. I have done marble inlays. I have done with Vaishali embroideries. I have done watercolor paintings. I have done acrylics. I have done glass works. I mean, we did a lot of things. I mean, every time a new medium, talk with the medium, fight with the medium, get into it, and then and build up a new structure altogether. So variety of things I tried. It is a fantastic journey. I mean, as an artist, I feel you don't waste a single minute. Because every minute you're learning something. Every minute something else is going to talk to you. So this is, of course, I can tell a lot of things. I don't want to talk about myself more. Now, coming back to the recipients, it's very interesting thing. I myself also collected. I mean, I collect a lot of things. Uh, and anyone who collects is very, is kind of an interesting relationship between artist, art, and the collector. I mean, as an artist, I know who is going to buy my work. As an artist, I know who is not going to buy my work. As an artist and as a collector, I know whom I'm going to get related with, because that happens very, very fast. It's a, I mean, there are two, three theories, of course. I mean, one theory, of course, there's this theory Dr. Sigmund Freud talked about uh, he talked about anal pleasure and the art collection. So that's, I don't know, I'm going to get into that. He himself was not able to understand it for a long time because he himself was a great collector. If you see, if you visited Freud Museum in London, you'll see when you go to his table, a variety of things. Table is full of antiquities. And there's a fantastic book also about his collection. Whether he was a collector, he was not collector. There's a lot of debate about it among the psychologists and among the philosophers. Forget that. Another thing which I always believe, there is something called archetypal consciousness working behind our minds, our brains, our activities. And as Derrida had said very beautifully about writing, he said that every writer is in search of some kind of explicit reader. Similarly, every artist is in always search of some kind of explicit collector. He doesn't know that. Who is that? I mean, how he looks like. He may not meet him in his entire lifetime, but in that search that I am going to meet one day my collector, that is how work starts. It is in one way, as Carl Jung says, or some other psychologists also have said, that the relationship between artist, collector is a very is a relationship of making love or approaching a lover or courtship. Variety of such things have been tried up, and fantastic essays and articles are available in the books of all these authors which I mentioned. Now, coming back, last thing, unfortunately, what has happened? Post-globalization, post-capitalism, taking over everything of our life, every inch of our life, rather we are part of it. I mean, the capitalism is internalized in our activity. What has happened is everything has been reduced to something called commodity and something called money. Now what happens? Archetypal consciousness goes away. Now what happens? Those theories of pleasure of Freud go away. And what remains? If I buy this work, what I'm going to get when I sell it after a month? So art gets equated with a share market. You know, if I buy today Tata, or Reliance, or something else, or Apple, or Google, or something else, what I'm going to get when I sell it a week after, a month after, year after, it is a long-term investment, it is a short-term investment. So in this case, what happens? Collector and artist, collector and artwork, there is no relationship other than money. And that's the dangerous thing. That is going to kill the art completely. So this is one area which need to be talked about. I have written about it sometime back 10 years back in Economic Times about Art Bazaar. Subsequently, in Marathi also written a very long, detailed essay on how art has changed into commodity market, how art has become more or less equated with money itself, and then the price becomes very important. Whatever, and in our world, whatever is expensive is always good. So people say that, oh, you're selling at this, oh, must be good. Your prices of your work are from 30 lakh, 50 lakh, oh, must be good. So art is not good. I mean, it's about, if the price is good, your art is good. So the whole idea of aesthetics changes. Accordingly, the markets are created. Markets are created, the journals are created. Journals are created, the critics are created. Critics are created, the artists are created. Museums are created. In the whole process, where are we going? That's a very important question. And that's a very serious thing, which I want to point out. Unfortunately, I'm not going to stay for a longer time because I've got something else to attend, some medical thing. So I want to myself stop here. And I think most of the areas which you had raised in your question, I think I have answered. The last thing is, of course, technology. Technology is going to change art and art buying also, and the collectorship also. Of course, we as artists, we're using technology a huge way. In fact, nowadays, I don't think I'm using brush anymore for a longer time. Nowadays, so I mean, the whole idea of that, whatever a biological relationship I said, is changing into something else. And so for a simple thing, I mean, if I want to apply color, I know the hell huge color wheel in front of me. It's no more the kind of physical color wheel, but I can create a huge amount of hues. I can check them up before I do anything, and the spontaneity, of course, is going to create problem. There may not be the kind of spontaneity what we used to experience earlier, because here a lot of predictability is going to come. With technology, what happens? Technology pushes you to a predictable thing, and art is all about unpredictable things. So, as an artist, when I use technology, always I have to fight, I have to create, I have to work with the technology in such a way that it allows my freedom to be unpredictable, my freedom to be absent, because ultimately everything is explained in our own life, outside, the complications by the absurdity only, nothing else. So the whole corona can be explained only kind of absurd, unprecedented times we are right now living through. So this absurdity is very important, and therefore artists has to whenever we're using the technology, we'll have to always keep in mind that the power of our unpredictability should not be taken away by some other force. And of course, technology also going to bring its own aesthetics. Like on one side, you have the market aesthetics, on the other side, the technology aesthetics. So these two things, artists will have to fight continuously. It is sleepless, in fact, kind of a war today with your own work, because it should not become mundane, it should not become routine, it should not become predictable, and yet you should be able to utilize a variety of expressions and powers that technology offers to you. And I think one can go into details. There are new technological works are coming up. Gardens are being made. Things are being changed. A lot of things like now canvas is being used as a kind of a wall skin, so the skin can keep changing. And so variety of, there's a huge amount of things that are going to come. The art which we're seeing today will become very fast as an antique piece. That's the way technology is going to change the art. And similarly, the collection, of course, the way we used to talk to our collectors in the gallery is going to change. This whole idea of digitalization will be consistently talking to people from a distance and yet very close. It's like one of my shows we had explored about it. It's called about that show was controversial. It was called Tits and Elephant Dick, and that was banned also by the state government, where we had tried to understand the idea of avatars, the idea of second life, the idea of this virtual gaming, etc. So this new experience, a digital experience, we're more like making virtual love. So that's very, and in fact, in the COVID times now, you must have seen that variety of New York Times to Harper, and from Washington Post to London Review of Books, everybody has talked. New Yorker talked today about the whole idea of how the people, the lovers, are meeting in these strange times. So and still trying to be with each other. So that's how this whole new idea of collector and art is going to happen. It's going to be enjoyable. It's new, and it will have its own limitations as well as new horizons will be open up. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Sanjeev. You've actually, given a segue to a lot of topics that we're going to be brooding on. And one thing I can tell you is your journey has been mesmerizing. I didn't have any better words to say that. Your intellect through your paintings, pretty unique. We will definitely take your points, and then there are a few points we're going to work on. I love the way you describe the relationship between an art lover and the art itself, right? It's beautiful. That perspective is awesome. And you did speak about unpredictability, right? It's very important message to all the artists, right? So your art can never be taken away by a situation or a political scenario outside, and it really very good sense to me. On technology aspects, definitely. You overall sound very positive towards embracing all the changes coming in, which is a very big example to all the upcoming artists to look forward to that such changes from an eminent artist like you yourself. So thank you very much. With this, I would like to just quickly switch to Dr. Ashrafi and speak about certain things that Mr. Sanjeev brought about on multiple things. But Dr. Ashrafi, you come from a very, interesting background in the sense you're an art historian. You've been focusing on the research, R&Ds, and you've been an art critic yourself, and you've been the best curator I've known, in India, who have curated great works of many artists, and late Mr. Surya Prakash is yeah, one of them for sure. And what I would like to very quickly ask you is a couple of things. Um, could you just share your thought on the same areas that Mr. Sanjeev spoke about? One is how do you see the landscape changing? Now, you come from a very big background.
Sunil, Sunil, I think we have lost her in a bit. You can continue while she's trying to connect back.
Sure, definitely. Definitely. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll move to our next panelist today, and I'll probably take a cue from where Mr. Sanjeev left us on the overall technology aspects and endorsing of art and how artists are going to be perceived. I would like to switch to Ms. Koili. So, Ms. Koili, again, you bring a very unique aspect. Now, one point Mr. Sanjeev spoke about is how do you define the value of art, right? And I realize you really specialize in that part. See, one of the things that people have to perceive, it's not just with art collectors, is art is not like any other asset, right? It should be perceived in a certain way. And Pawan did speak to me about this, and I really like the way he explains, right? So he says, let's say we have an art today which is worth a lakh that somebody buys, and we would like to make sure the young generation understands the value of art, right? So, and the value of this art piece that he's using to decorate his personal space at home over a year appreciates, and the actual statistics he's shared with me is around 10-15 percentage of increase in the value of the overall art piece itself. So it's more like an investment. But the difference is we invest in land, it appreciates. We invest in shares, it appreciates. But when you talk about art, there's another very important aspect. It stays with you as a collector, right? You enjoy that art every day. He says, if I divide a lakh by 365 days, 3 rupees is what you're spending per day, right? Approximately, to enjoy the art on your walls, to see the value of it, and you have decorated your space. How do we make sure, number one, we've got some nice tools to, or the framework to value an art, Ms. Koili? That's one part I would like to discuss with you. And what is technology doing in this, right? If you could spend some time on that, please. Ms. Koili, you are on mute. You should, if you can unmute yourself quickly.
Thank you. And I would like to sort of bring into focus that there are certain criteria which leads us to evaluate a work. And we would go a bit little sort of backwards in the sense like when we go to a competition and we evaluate the work, there are certain criteria that are listed. So what are those components? The composition, the medium, and the use of the medium, and how the person has sort of articulated the thought. So then it adds up as marks, as something kind of tangible. Similarly, when we are evaluating, there are certain criteria. So the thing is that how or where or under whom the artist has been trained, and the institution, and the practice, how many years of practice, what is the kind of Is it something? Is he bringing something very unique to the table? Like, is he contributing something to the genre? Is he creating something new? Uh, and the kind of technique that he's using, and what are the things involved in the technique. So people say that how much time did it take you? For an artist, it may be a very, like an artist like Hussein, who's extremely spontaneous, and there are other artists who are very, very spontaneous, but you cannot just sort of sum up their work in terms of the time they have spent, because they must have spent say about half an hour, 45 minutes in completing a piece of work. Time doesn't really, it's an irrelevant matter when the artist is completely uh, has experience, has been projected and has made a mark somewhere and has sort of contributed to the genre. So it doesn't, it becomes irrelevant. It is the practice, say 30 years of practice, 35 years of practice, 50 years of practice. Some artists whom I know had not found mm, uh, light proof ink and archival paper. So he's not been able to present his work for a period of 30 years. So when the market opened up and globalization happened and art materials sort of started coming in, and then the couriers were able to bring in, then that person had sort of access to the kind of the material of his choice, and he has been able to show. So till then, till 30, 35 years, he's been honing his practice. So now suddenly, and you cannot say that the artist overnight sort of catapulted and has got a price of a four-figure, 4 zeros behind his price, because he's waited that long. He's shown his work and he's made his mark, and he's so these are the criteria that help us to uh, evaluate, and also an average of the sales that he has done. That is one very small component which hardly matters.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, this is very valuable. I think your experience definitely is helpful for our audience today. I would like to ask another question, Ms. Koili. How do you think this whole thing is changing with digital platforms, right? Do you see a transformation in digital platforms or the approach towards this? Because now more and more artists are visible easily, global connect is happening. Do you see some change because of this?
Oh, a huge amount of change. Like in 24 weeks, he saw something which is very promising. And initially, apparently, pandemics and situations like that, where sort of the entire world has come to a standstill, and he's struggling to push the boundary of safety and trying to function the market in various ways. It apparently seems detrimental to progress. But at the same time, I see with that, keeping that thought in mind, definitely progress has been hampered. But I also see people are trying to figure out ways of counteracting this. And I think it's going to give it's a booster dose. I mean, even without the vaccine, we get a booster dose to reinforce and our ability to sell or come to the viewers in various social media handles. Uh, what I was thinking is that it's initially when the whole lockdown happened, it was devastating for the artists because they were really nervous. The entire thing had to be relooked at, the studios, the way the studios transformed and the functioning, because the artists were alienated completely because nobody would visit their studios. They can't carry their work to the galleries. So, how do you sort of get hold of this whole thing? How do you make sense as an artist of this entire collapse of the market? So they started sort of focusing on the work, and sometimes you would sit to work, but you really do not have that ultramarine that you have because it's run out, and you were not sort of you didn't see that lockdown is coming up, and you've not sort of store, so you're having to figure out chains or palettes. This is just an example. Some people may be sort of so switching to doing some stitching and embroidery because their paints have run out, or they do not have a canvas, or they're just working with their pencil. But that honing, that's something I wouldn't do if it was a normal situation. If I could go to the store and pick up what I want on that kind of that particular color that I would like to sort of bring in some kind of nuance to my work, I'm thinking, having to think of the instead of this, what do I have? So the ingredients of my work are sort of being honed. Like, what can I make? I mean, art. So this is something, and then also the practice change. Like I have a certain elements in my work of art. So now I've started thinking that how do I sort of work this line? But if I would be busy, if I had the option of going out and doing this and that, and if I'm not, people who are working in this situation, they are actually fine tuning their uh, mm, uh, treatment, I would say, on their canvas or on their surface or whatever they're working with. So this is one thing that's happening. But artists are individuals. They can think of bringing a community or sort of building a community, but that is not their work, because they've not been able to do it over centuries, over historical times. They have not been able to build a community, really a community. It can't be, because they're individuals, and they're having the struggle of thinking, imagining, and ideating, and it's a existential struggle. So it is not their job to build a community. I see in this time that a lot of community is happening, community building or feeling is there, but it's happening through social media handles. Just as the lockdown uh, was, I mean, I think the third or fourth phase of the lockdown, there was this Facebook challenge which happened, and artists started inviting each other to show their work for a 10-day period of time or 7-day period of time. Even my Facebook page was being flooded with that. Initially I was thinking that okay, but then it takes your mind away, and then you sort of look at your work and you connect with other artists, so it became like a kind of festival. It was like something was happening, and it's sort of strange to believe that while all this was happening, a person who had previously bought works from me had sort of liked certain series, and the entire series got picked up during this days. So for me, it was an experience again, like it does work. So it sort of reinforced my faith on social showing through social media. It should be seen as a fantastic, fantastic opportunity.
Great, great. Fantastic. I mean, this is another positive segue into something which I would like to bring Dr. Ashrafi, if she's back online with us.
I just wanted to add one small thing.
Sure, sure. Please, go ahead.
I mean, just what she said in the same connection. Interestingly, in this entire lockdown period, if you see, in the initial stages when there's complete lockdown, we had some essential commodities were open, and you were able to get milk, groceries, medicines, etc. Interestingly, in these essential commodities, bookshops were not open, art galleries were not open, and that's the. I mean, I think this whole idea of digitalization will help us to make somehow a point, that these things, the art, culture, books, music, dance, are equally essential to the human life, and that's what I think uh, is the advantage for this digital galleries. An online experience will definitely push the envelope further. That's it.
Perfect. Yes, Mr. Sanjeev, that's a very good point you made. In fact, we were talking about one point where we said we're building golden global of artists, right? Global communities. We are reducing the distance. So today, to conduct a panel like this today. If I did not have a digital medium, probably I would not have thought about bringing so many of you together to launch the online, exhibition today. It's become very easy. I'm able to communicate an art piece from one geographic location to another. They're talking very freely. We are face to face. We have the experience here personally, and then the art as well, right? So I think this brings in a very interesting aspect. So we have Dr. Shafi back on the panel. Welcome back,
Yeah.
Dr. We had a very interesting discussions about a few areas, and you've been the topmost curator in India
No,
for
not at all. Not at all. Don't make me a topmost curator, no.
you're modest about it. We will definitely take that, but definitely we believe you're topmost curators today among us. And then
Hello.
uh, a lot of time with late Surya Prakash garu, right? For example, among all the curations that you had, you spent a lot of time with him, and you have a coffee table book that you worked with him, and you've brought it together, and all your experience, rich experience of curating big exhibitions and galleries and shows and working with eminent artists and personalities versus how do you see this evolving? And you've been in this market in multiple roles. We've seen your introduction. It says it all that you've been there. How did you see the transition? What is your take on what we've done in the past with respect to probably curations? We spent a little of time on how do we price the art pieces with Mr. Sanjeev, Ms. Koili. They shared their frameworks and details about.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I missed out on all the other speakers, and Pawan knows why. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. So
Don't worry.
actually, I'm clueless about what the other speakers have really, except the introduction that you had given.
Sure. So I'll probably give you a quick 30-second blurb on that for you to take it from there. We did cover the importance of, Mr. Sanjeev spoke about the relationship between art and art lover. He spoke about his mesmerizing journey, and he focused on certain areas of technology, right, which are helping out, and his thought, and he mentioned about, how our art piece is priced. What's the importance, why the valuation for it is different, and why is it an asset. So we spoke a little about that with Koili, because she's been in this business for long, and so much of experience in working with so many artists on a framework on how do we price an art piece and what goes into that, right? We spoke about that, and both of them sounded extremely positive on the technology aspects, right? So they say that new digital platforms, while it slowed down a bit, we are seeing more positive side of it, right? It's going to bring people together, artists are collaborating, and we are crossing geographies and things like that, right? We've got many more things. I gave an example of our ability to talk today in this session being not as easy if I were to do a physical panel, right? So it's as simple as that. So I wanted to understand from your experience, right? So you've seen generations of artists, right? You've written for artists, you've curated great shows, you've worked with late Surya Prakash Garu to write Coffee on the Table, you've worked for a lot of his curations with L.V. Prasad as well. So I want to understand from you, take your perspective on the journey, the evolution, what you're seeing, and what is the startling difference? Do you see problems? If so, what they are, and what you're worried about, or what you see good things, right? About the evolution, digital technology, and change in perspectives of art lovers and buyers.
Thank you, Sunila. For me, curation started only about 4 years back, and I was lucky enough to have curated an entire show which was based on my research thesis, the Madras Art Movement. And that was actually the first opportunity to curate the show at NGMA, working with the government bodies, the bureaucracy, and all those things put together. And of course, my first show was with Ramani, the collage artist. That gave me a lot of experience, though it was a very small show. but it made me think on many aspects. And the most important aspect was that how the artist has journeyed so far, that he wants a retrospective, at this stage in his life. So that was a beginning point, and this goes back to 2016, I think. And then in 2017, I had the opportunity of curating the show at NGMA. NGMA show was a big challenge, an extremely a big challenge, because it involved two cultural organizations like NGMA Delhi and NGMA Bangalore. Uh, so, relating with them, coordinating with them, and also, trying to get the best works out of the place was a challenge. And then setting it up, putting the right things in the right direction was also another challenge. And then the challenge was to attract people to come and see this exhibition, which was actually a seminal exhibition, which would have provided visibility, especially for the artists from the South, which actually nobody is aware of, nobody, knows about it till this show went on. Here, I didn't have to actually, because I had researched on the artist, I knew the artist's journey as such. But challenge was Surya Prakash's show, basically. It was a one-man show and his retrospective. And I had worked with him earlier when he had, called me to Hyderabad, and he wanted the catalog to be written on his Venice series. That was the first time I had come, seen his studio, interacted with him. And then the next thing I hear is that he wanted me to curate his show. So Surya Prakash's journey was fantastic. I mean, a journey of a real artist. And I could empathetically relate with him in the sense, like, as an artist, how he had journeyed, and, as a teacher, as a professor, how I had journeyed with my art history and with my learning, and eventually to my PhD and what I had got. So it was a kind of, a very empathetic relationship which I established with him. And I was able to do that also with his works. So for me, it became, I don't know, it was almost like being on a spiritual journey with Surya Prakash. Sometimes when I think about it, I thought, that I'm truly a blessed one to have met an artist like Surya Prakash, to have spoken to him, to have been in his artistic space in his studio, and his working methodology, how meticulously he used to work, store his work, and when we, the gallery, when finally the exhibition comes up, to a work of art. And that is what, I kept taking it out from Surya Prakash. His works appears very simple, and we say, oh, landscapes. But, they are just not landscapes. They are so much his vision, a very private vision of nature, which, he has conceptualized it to be very different through his technique. I know there are many who have dismissed, his later works, but I stood firm and I said, no. I mean, these are works which you need to examine as well. Subtlety and nuance, tones, shades, hues. I mean, I can't, it's an experience. I really can't describe it. So Surya Prakash was a very, very different experience as a man, as an individual, as an artist, as a philanthropist also, I would say. The kind of work he has done for the uplift of the artists. One of the first artists actually to establish a gallery in Hyderabad and help the younger artists. So in that way, his whole journey, and, when he spoke about his earlier days, the kind of, it was a struggle. And through all those struggles, he never ever gave it. And then he suddenly changed track from what he had done earlier to this. Now this is Surya Prakash. So, I mean, I have a good idea about his works. Another artist, Government School of College of Arts and Crafts. I wrote his book. I did not curate his show, but in writing the book, are you there? Can you listen? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
your voice is breaking on and off, Dr. Ashrafi, but I think now it's
Is it
fine.
okay?
Last sentence was okay.
Is it okay?
This one was okay, yes.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so another artist is AP Santa Raj. Of course, I did not curate his show, but then, for me, sitting and talking with him was another journey with an artist. And, these are the artists who really had to struggle in the earlier days in the 60s. And, how they committedly, dedicatedly continued with their work because they were just not affected. It was only their art. Similarly, I worked with many of the senior artists, and this was one common thing which I found it very inspiring. For me, it was very inspirational. It gave me another direction to my work and to my thinking also. To say that come what may, it's their convictions which carried them through. So, this has been my experience. And I learned a lot because I met different personalities, different types of eccentricities, sometimes, over-friendly, sometimes very warm and gentle, and sometimes absolutely cold and, mind your own business kind of, the artist attitude. But in the beginning, I found it very difficult, but I accepted it as part of their creative journey, and that I was no judge on them. All I wanted to know was how they worked, how they created, how they conceptualized, and how they finally brought it onto the canvas. So in that respect, it's a great learning experience as an art historian. I can't tell you that, I've been into writing and researching only for the past 2 decades. Since I, started my research, that I really went into writing and working with the artists. And writing catalogs for the artists was another learning experience. I mean, I've written more than 250 catalogs for the artists, have interacted with them. So in that respect also, each artist and how they work. For me, all my intellectual windows were opened up only by the artists. Let me tell you that. If not for them, I won't be where I am today. I'm actually giving all the credit to the artists because of their, different approaches, different thinking, different conceptualization, different way of looking at the world, their different experiences. And then, what is visual for them, I had to do it verbally in the writing. So, I mean, this is the kind of journey for me with the artists, and that I have journeyed along with them, and I hope to continue to journey. My journey continues with them for at least as long as it's possible.
Brilliant, brilliant. This is a
Are
great.
you there?
Yeah, we're all
Are
able
you
to
there,
hear.
Sunila? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, very well, Dr. Ashrafi. And we heard you completely as well. I would like to really congratulate you on your experience and,
Okay, fine.
important points you shared. I think there's a slight lag, no worries at all. We were able to hear everything you said. So thank you very much for that. I would like to,
Yeah,
from
okay, yeah.
based on what you just explained, I'm sure whatever curation work you've done, your experience collaborating, building catalogs, That would be no different with digital platforms too, right? The need continues to be there. Probably the platforms we use to do this and the way we would do is very different. So with this, I would like to take a quick switch on topics of discussion, right? So we've spoken about, the artwork, we've spoken about the journeys, we've spoken about artists themselves, we've spoken about galleries, valuing art, putting a value towards art, and technology, how positive we are about it. While it worries some, definitely we're all figuring out, right? I would like to switch to an important topic today, which is about outreach, right? With this, I would like to bring in Mr. Vikas on the panel to speak about it. Mr. Vikas, welcome back on the panel. It's been a brilliant discussion we had until now. What I would like to spend time with you and Ms. Vijaya Ramam Garu is a bit on the corporate social responsibility and outreach, right? So you've been a social entrepreneur, and a lot of times when there's art exhibition, artists come promoting arts, marketing for them. I'm deliberately using the word marketing out here, right? On how do we make sure we position the artists very well. Cost, pricing, everything would come, around it. But how is an artist positioned? How is his artwork or her artwork reachable outside? Is all about outreach, right? How big firms are coming and how they're collaborating. I would like you to explain us about your experience, what you're seeing, and your thoughts on outreach as such, and technology, of course. It will be a question that I would expect you to answer. But corporate social responsibility and outreach to start with.
Yeah, thank you, Sunila. Uh, in my introduction, you forgot to mention one very important point that I am working with a public art organization called Start India Foundation, and we are into public art. So when we talk about public art, it itself says that the outreach is to its optimum, right? Because when we are talking to the public in the public domain, we are taking art from the confines of the galleries into the public spaces where we not only interact only with the very select crowd, but also with any passerby. It can be a rickshaw puller to a bureaucrat. So, the horizon actually increases. And that is where we feel that there is a need of also sensitizing the masses, because these are the people, out of them many, when they become the bureaucrats, the IAS officers, and hold responsible positions, they are the people who can come forward to support the arts in a very different level. So my experience in marketing art has been primarily in the public domain with the governments, both union as well as state governments. Very recently, even during the pandemic, we have done an artwork on Mahim railway station in Mumbai. When there was a complete lockdown throughout the country, we have done an artwork, a huge mural on the exterior walls of the Mahim railway station. uh, Earlier the plans were we had some different plans, like we thought of some different conceptual designs, but then looking at the ongoing situation, we thought it's a good opportunity to pay tribute to the the corona, the warriors, the COVID warriors. And you can just go through our website also. There are there are about 12 murals which have been made there on the exterior walls, right from the vegetable seller to the policeman to the municipal employee, all these corona warriors. It is a big kind of tribute paid. So yes, there are ways in which art can still be marketed, can still be projected. We have to find out the way. Now, while I am talking to you, at the same time, we are also coordinating with some arts smart cities, the smart cities. Now, what a smart city is, it is not only just having industry, but it is also many other elements. And that is where I think that from the community or from the art fraternity, it also becomes our responsibility to sensitize these policymakers as well, that will you really like to have a smart city without any soul? And that is where it can be filled through arts, whether it is performing art or it is visual arts. And we are like we are coordinating with some smart cities, and the thing is going on, the planning is going on. Once the situation gets better, then we will also start the groundwork, seeing that it is safe for each and everyone. Apart from that, then coming to also, the performing arts, because of my experience, I'll touch upon both visual arts as well as the performing arts. Very recently, there is one organization with which I am associated for past about 19 to 20 years, whose the name you mentioned, Speak Make. It's a voluntary movement. Okay, there are no paid employees over there. It's just based on the volunteers. They have some convention every year in some part of the country. It was supposed to be in IIT Kanpur, and they were just on the verge of canceling. And we thought, why not to use this digital platform? And believe me, there were about more than 52,000 viewers every day. It was for a week. The day used to start at around 4 o'clock in the morning with yoga, and it used to be continuous engagement through different activities till 10 o'clock. And believe me, even in the morning yoga, there used to be a crowd of about more than 260 to 70 people.
Wow.
So there are takers, and knowing that the Prime Minister and these kind of people can also be involved, the inauguration was done virtually again by the Prime Minister, where the viewership increased khatak. So my point is that you have to also think of how to market it, how you can package it in a way that it really becomes sellable. And what we have to do is you have to go on the other side of the line, become a sort of buyer. And as a buyer, what will I have in mind? I have to think that way, because see, very honestly, I was feeling very nervous, talking amidst so many distinguished personalities from the art background. And I was the whole day, believe me, the whole day I was just thinking whether I'll be able to talk or not. But this is what helped me, that as a person from the non-artistic background, it really helped me in connecting with the masses and what exactly a buyer thinks, a normal buyer thinks, and how to package it well. So this is what I have been able to do till now.
As I should tell you, you've actually summarized this so well on the marketing side. I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Connecting masses, you said.
One more thing, Sunila, just 2 minutes I will take. And one more thing, I feel that, the art fraternity also has to open up the windows, as Vijay said, that it should not be only limited to canvas, but we have to look to the entire world as a canvas. Just 2 months before the pandemic started, we did, like Start India Foundation did sort of painting and artwork on Nehru Planetarium in Mumbai. So the dome which is there, okay, it was like painted as the southern hemisphere of the moon. So it was basically a tribute to the Chandrayaan which we did. So like we have to look at the whole world as a medium of how we can really put our art and sensitize people. And in the whole process, all the policymakers also come on the platform, and that is how we can just start with our journey.
Absolutely. I mean, it's beautiful the way you said, and I think it also links back to what Mr. Sanjeev told us about. He would go everywhere. For an artist, it's boundless, right? The expression is boundless. You don't need a specific aisle or a canvas to sit down and do. It's everywhere. Like Shakespeare rightly says, world is a stage, right? So it's same thing works with an artist too, right? It's where you can express. I think Mr. Prakash, you spoke about one important aspect which I loved, I think, which I would like to highlight a little more before I speak to Ms. Vijayaraman. So one important thing is you definitely worked with governments and big organizations, and your reach with respect to what kind of mediums or modes you can do. For example, you spoke about an event from yoga to the night of coordination with multiple people. I think this is what all of us have to learn, right? To understand that if it's an art, it's not just one or two ways of looking at it, right? It's not just about an exhibition or a podcast or a blog or talking or whatever. It could be multiple things, right? We spread awareness by bringing people together. And we bring people together by doing different things. It may not be purely an art-driven work, but something which brings conscious among themselves. Yoga is an example, you said, multiple things, and philanthropy, bringing people together. I mean, this is what motivates all of us, I think, on the ground. And you really touched a great point. I would like to switch from here, the government mode of operations at that scale, to corporates, right? So, Ms. Vijayramam, so I'm going to be focusing on you a bit now. For all the achievements you've had, you served as Deputy Director at LV Prasad Institute. You're not just on the hospitalization in the industry of hospital industry, but you were also a very big art connoisseur, right? You've been, your family has been into arts and multiple visual arts and performing arts and multiple things, and you've driven a lot of things at LV Prasad. And Surya Prakash Garu, again, the association is coming back to you, right? All of you, in some way or the other, are associated with great legends like him. And would you like to speak about very quickly on what you did for years? I mean, I'm not talking about 1-2 year work, definitely, but what you've done at LV Prasad, be it setting up an art gallery for Surya Prakash Garu, or for conducting sessions and trainings and bringing people together to endorse, filling up the hospital with paintings and artwork, whatever it is. How did it start, and where do you see as a corporate social responsibility, coming from a government viewpoint to a corporate? What do you see, and what have you done as a part of LV Prasad? Ms. Vijayramam Garu, you're actually on mute. If you can unmute yourself. Yes. You've muted yourself again. I think it automatically got pressed.
We are not a corporate hospital. We are a not-for-profit charitable organization. We are a trust. We are a trust, right? But it is, LV Prasad Institute is about 33-year-old. And I have been associated with the institute right from the inception. That is way back in 1987. I was heading the administration for about 18 years. And over the past 15 years, I'm into the consultancy mode for the same organization as a management consultant. Basically, my specialization is in hospital management. But yes, as you rightly pointed out, I'm a connoisseur of art, both performing arts mostly, because my family is full of artists, dancers and instrumentalists and artists. Visual art also. My brother-in-law is a cartoonist. He did from Jelly School of Arts. And his pen name is Vince, because we are talking about visual arts. I would like to mention his name. And he's no more there. But with all this exposure in the artistic environment in the house, I was exposed to that. As far as visual arts are concerned, my visual art exposure is only through the institute, especially my close association with the institute, with Mr. Surya Prakash and others also. LV Prasad Institute, as I said, is a not-for-profit organization. It's a charitable trust. And we actually serve about 50% of our patient load at no cost to them, to the economically underprivileged population of our country. And it was founded by Mr. Dr. Gullapalli N. Rao. He hails from Andhra Pradesh, but he was in the US for a long time. And in 86, 87, he returned to India and started this institute as a charitable trust. And because Mr. LV Prasad, the movie producer and director, gave a big donation to us, and that piece of land where we stand in Bandara Hills today has been given as a donation to us. So with that, we have given the name as Mr. LV, after Mr. LV Prasad. So that's the reason it's known as LV Prasad Institute. Otherwise, it's a charitable trust. So over the years, actually, we touched upon 30.64 million people across 4 states. We have a presence, that is in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and then Karnataka and Orissa. So we touched upon 50% of the population. When they come in here, they are served free of cost. This is the background. We are into a lot of research, education, and rehabilitation, and most of the other things. In the rural outreach programs also, we are there. So, but right from the beginning, the founder of this institute, Dr. Gullapalli N. Rao, always felt that the institute should not look like a hospital, though we actually serve the patients. As I said, 30.64 million people is not a joke. When they come, when they walk into our institute, we have about 210 centers in four of the states. So when any of the patients, especially in our tertiary care centers or secondary centers in the districts and all, when they walk in, they should not feel that it's like a hospital. And one thing is cleanliness. We give a lot of importance to the cleanliness, aesthetics and everything. And the way you arrange the furniture, fixtures, corridors should be free for the patients to flow, because most of the visually impaired patients come. And on top of that, we also give a lot of importance to aesthetics. Initial first 1 year when I was there, we were giving importance to the greenery around. So we have vast land here, so we put up a lot of plants and all. To be frank, we didn't have any of the paintings in our institute for the first 1 year. But sometime in 1988, we have a lot of research collaborations with CCMB. Actually, by then, we are into research-oriented organization also. So with that, we had a lot of research-oriented understanding with CCMB. One day, Dr. Rao walked into CCMB. There, actually, Dr. P.M. Bhargav, who is the founder and director of CCMB then, 88, he had promoted art. He also has an aesthetic eye, basically. They have a lot of murals, paintings all over in their lobbies here, there, and all. Our Dr. Rao was very much fascinated with that. And he asked Dr. P. Bhargav. And then Dr. Bhargav introduced Mr. Surya Prakash to him. He said he's the man who has been doing everything for us. So he introduced. So he asked Surya Prakash, he said whether he would come to our institute and be as a resident and artist. And then we also offered him a studio space. That time, he was mostly doing all these paintings at home. He was staying in Srinagar colony, very close to our institute. He found it very convenient because still he continued with CCMB for a long time. But our institute offering, as an artist in residence, doing into all the aesthetics part of it. And his studio also, he had always, till this last breath, he had a studio in our house. Every day he would come around 9:30 at 10, till 6 o'clock, he would also go into the studio and do his paintings all over. So I used to walk in. I had the pleasure of walking into the studio as and when I felt like, as and when I had little work. So interacted with him on various fronts, sometimes on his artwork, what is his theme about. And very often I used to ask him this. He had, of course, a lot of themes, as Ashrafi was saying, that different themes on the landscapes and everything. I would ask him, what is your thought about this? What do you think about it? He said, no, you visualize it yourself. The way you think, whether it's leaves or rocks or a lotus or anything. He said, you have to visualize it yourself. The way you think about it, I don't want to tell anything about it. And so that's how we started. So since we have got, our environment should be very aesthetically oriented, and Dr. gave a lot of emphasis about this. So he has joined us and made a vast difference to our institute face, actually. So that's the reason, we have all the paintings in the lobbies, corridors and rooms, everywhere we have a lot of paintings. Not only his paintings, he also actually consulted some of the artists, upcoming artists and all. And we had actually exhibitions held of some of the upcoming artists at that time. And, we didn't have any art gallery at that time, but we have huge corridors and lobbies for the patients to wait and all. So with that, we used to hang those pictures in the lobby, and we used to say art exhibition is there. Somewhere we used to display. And all the patients who would come, well, they're waiting, of course, in the eye hospital, patients have to wait for 3-4 hours. So when they would also have a look at the art. So this is where we actually gave an exposure to the patients to look at the art. Wow. And especially the gardening and everything they say. So when they walked in, this has been our endeavor that when the patient walks in, he or she should not feel that they're walking to a hospital. Even now, for the past 33 years, all our centers, most of our centers, we make sure that kind of an ambience is maintained. And it is the vision of our chairman, Dr. Rao, and he compliments, Surya Prakash complimented to that vision. And he made sure that it will not look like a hospital. Even our gardens also. He used to nurture our gardens, where to put the plants and what kind of things and everything. So we have a lot of greenery in the institute.
Beautiful.
It should not look like a hospital. So even now, even now some of the patients come and tell us, oh, it doesn't look like a hospital. It's something different. So when we hear that kind of compliments, we think our I mean, this one endeavor is fulfilled this way. And
So, Miss,
so this way he made Dr. Rao's dream come true. And one thing later, what I would say is he invited Mrs. Shishir Sahana, a sculptor in glass. So he also joined us. He was very young at the time, Shishir Sahana, for 20 years back. He called him over and he said he will also be artist in distance. So for his glass sculpture, he needed a kind of a workshop, fun and everything. So he used to do all his works at nights only. Even with him also, he used to come out with fantastic works. Sister Sahana's works were also there in our institute. So what Surya Prakash and Sister did was when they were there, their works of art, whatever they produced or they painted, they used to adorn our walls or our tables here, there and all. Till such time, some connoisseur would come and buy the piece of art and take it away. So whenever, in our artist, one vacant space was there on the wall, I would ask Mr. Surya Prakash, what happened to this painting here? It's looking so. He said, no, somebody bought it, so I'm going to replace it with something else. So always, our walls were adorned with that. Not only that, we also, through our art exhibitions and all, we acquired the art pieces of other artists also. And art workshops, especially sculptures workshops we had, and paintings and all. What we used to do is, because as a charitable organization, we couldn't afford to buy those paintings much. But most of the artists would give it away at a concessional price mostly, because they want their art to be adorned by the others. Even a patient, even a non-paying patient, is a free patient, from the village that they come. Sometimes, some of them, as Mr. Vikas was saying, something they find good in that. So they will appreciate that. And so that kind of a difference we make to our patients. So we used to buy all the paints, and most of the artists felt their art it's the right place to have their art in our place. So we used to buy it at a nominal price at the time. Some of them used to give it away as a donation to us. And when we used to conduct the artist workshop, where I used to coordinate initially when I was in office with all the artists and all. So we used to give the material and host them. That's it, nothing else. And they would come, pay for their travel and everything, and give them a 10, 15 days or maybe 1 week or so at times. Once actually we had a sculpture workshop in early 2000. So they had to spend a lot of time to do that. So then they would leave the piece of art to us and then go away. So this is how we acquire a lot of art. We have a number of pieces of artwork all around. But those days, I tell you, in 90s, there were not many galleries in the city of Hyderabad. Not many. Surya Prakash also started in his own house. Actually, his living room, he converted into an art gallery, a small place. He used to have it every August 15th. He used to have a show. We all used to go there. Later, actually, because in 99 or so, we have expanded our institute. We have constructed more floors. At that time, we have an auditorium for about 200 seating capacity. For our medical education programs, every day we have classes, seminars, and workshops and all. And outside, there is a kind of a lobby, big, huge lobbies there. So our chairman decided to convert that as an art gallery.
Wow.
So Surya Prakash actually worked on that. He nurtured the whole thing, how it should look and design, everything, he did it. And in June 1999, he requested Mr. M.F. Hussain to come and inaugurate that. Wow. So he came and inaugurated that at a time. So he came and we asked Mr. Hussain, he said, please say something about it, like the way we are all talking now. Then Mr. Hussain said, but I can't talk. He said, had you put some canvas somewhere here, probably I would have painted there. Oh, then we felt bad about it, We felt so, none of us thought about it, including Mr. Surya Prakash. Then what one of my colleagues did was immediately she went and bought a marker pen from somewhere, a permanent marker pen we had, for the things, the classes and all. So what he did was he put a signature there on the wall with the marker pen and put his date that day. So even now we preserve that signature on the wall in our art gallery on the 6th level. That's why we felt very sorry, but we have few of his prints. We couldn't afford his canvases that way. Same of Hussain, we have few of his prints there in the institute. So yes. This is what about it. And then in 2012, we celebrated our 25th anniversary. Silver Jubilee celebrations were there. At that time, we came out with a coffee table book, and as well as all the works of art, Mr. Surya Prakash curated all of them by himself all the works of his works and others also, other artists, sculptures, everything he curated, and came out with a book called 2020 is in ophthalmic language, 2020 is perfect vision. 2020 is perfect vision. So he coined it as 2020, the art and aesthetics of L.V. Prasad Institute. He said that. So we came out with a coffee table book at that time. So that was there. So during this journey from 88 till 2019, almost 31 years, we have all interacted with him. And as Ashravi was saying, he's very soft-spoken and very gentle person and very straightforward. And so he endeared himself to all our colleagues, especially. Even when he passed away last year, even our housekeeping people were also feeling very bad that they couldn't go actually in farewell towards the end. But once they remembered that he gave them all some saris at the once. Wow. So they said, why he shouldn't have given it, but he cared for them. He cared for them. So that's why kind of a interaction he had with all our employees, and of course others also used to come there. And during our Foundation Day celebrations, we celebrate it every year on October 17th. Then October 17, 2016 was our 30th year of Foundation Day celebrations. And we have a good fun and frolic, big gathering will be there. On that day, Dr. Rao decided to give him a pleasant surprise by naming our art gallery after him as Surya Prakash Art Gallery.
Wow. Wow.
So even I didn't know that time, he was waiting downstairs. I was there and he was waiting for the Vaikuntham. He's again, close friend of his, is an artist himself. So I said, why are you waiting here? The fun and frolic is up there. Why don't you go and wait there? He said, no, I don't know. Dr. Rao invited Vaikuntham. So I'm waiting to receive him. So I also stood by and we received Vaikuntham also didn't know why he was invited specially. So normally they used to come, but not for the occasion. So we went there. And during the course, suddenly it was announced that our art gallery has been named after him, Surya Art Gallery. So he was really overwhelmed with that. So our art gallery is still there and it's been named after them. We still hold art exhibitions. What happened was this, so we miss him a lot, actually. I still miss him. Actually, he is my neighbor, next door neighbor, actually. His wife lives opposite there. But in February 2020, so as a tribute to him, our institute actually called about 20 artists all over the country, where Mrs. Cecil Sahana actually coordinated the event. And again, we had a workshop and we gave them all the material and everything, hosted them. So they did their art of work and they presented it and left it behind. So that is how we collect the art from various people. We have a lot of art, and as Mr. Sanjeev was saying, that is very valuable. And I would say that he said it should not be commercial, whatever it is. But whatever, and he's done a lot of murals for our institute also. A lot of them are there, actually, permanently. We preserve them. We created a rock garden. We had underground rocks there, somewhere in the patient care area where recently we come out with another building. So natural rocks, actually, we wanted to preserve all the natural beauty of the nature, along with the greenery around. So our chairman also said, no, we'll preserve these rocks. Then immediately Surya Prakash came out with a beautiful rock garden he created there. And all these things, actually, as I said, Sunila, I said, I've got them, but I don't want to present them because, it will distort the whole vision of all the audience. So what I would request is, all of you should visit the institute, any centers across, wherever we have L.V. Prasad Institute, you should visit there. Everywhere we have got good artwork, good sculpture, good greenery. And when you walk in, as I said, you won't feel that it is like a hospital, a medical center. So it's a different feeling. So a patient, when they come with a lot of problems, even for a refraction, when they come, they don't know whether they have power is going to increase, or even for the surgery, they come with a lot of apprehensions when they step into a hospital. But once when they get in, while they're waiting, looking at it, half the time they forget about, like the way when we go for a movie, we forget about ourselves, right? So that's why they forget, they go around and look at the art and all. So this is the difference we make to the patients by promoting the art and all. So we continue to do that. And one more thing which I would like to share with you all is, we have got a Rehabilitation Department also, where our doctors cannot help them. So what we do is, some of them are with low vision, some of them are completely visually challenged. They can't see that also. but some of them are very good artists. And there are work of art is also displayed in our institute there. And recently, one of the girls who is completely challenged, she's a very dynamic girl. Her name is Aishwarya. One day I walked into that, she was making halfway through some Cinderella figure. I don't know how she imagined. Probably she had a vision earlier, so she had some kind of imagination, low vision thing. And she made a Cinderella. It won some award recently, with 10, 15 days back. So even that also we display, encourage the visually challenged people also to come out with a visual art. One person actually, our past president Abdul Kalam came to our institute once. He was also a promoter and a friend of the institute also, I would say that way, and a trustee also. Once we came, one boy from Bengal, he came, and he was a low vision patient of our institute in the rehabilitation department. He just took the piece of paper, and with turning and twisting and all these things, he created wonderful animal figures with that. So we have actually framed that, and also they have got also a lot of talent, visually challenged people also. We try to promote their art, so they're also display. So this is how we try to promote art to make a difference to the artists as well as to our patients and visitors also.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I could see the passion with which you spoke about all these things, Ms. Vijaya. And, it's amazing to see that when we talk about, Mr. Vikas spoke about reaching to mass audience, but you were targeting a crowd which is so unique in a very unique way, right? In a very subtle, unique way, making difference to their lives. So this is how, it's beautiful, amazing, and I can see both Dr. Ashrafi and you had the kind of relationship you had with Surya Prakash Garu, late Surya Prakash Garu, and the kind of difference he made and how you worked with him. It's very evident, and I'm very blessed to hear all this live and collaborate, this to the audience to hear too. So. What I'll do is I'll quickly, try to wrap up. We will have a 10-minute Q&A. I'll open up depending on number of questions. Very quickly, I'll summarize. We touched about some very beautiful topics. So in the name of launching an online art gallery, right? So Pavan, Fawzia, both of them told me it is not pandemic that is making us launch this, right? And I believe them, they've worked very hard for this. The vision of online gallery is way beyond a simple motive, right? So we are looking at building communities, bringing artists together, going global, multiple things we spoke about. So technology aspects we touched, we said, artists can market in different ways. There are the blogs, vlogs, podcasts. Now, this is one medium, right, of artists speaking, and your experience of years coming out, it's knowledge treasure. Anybody who accesses this video is a knowledge treasure. People who can't meet you directly or, who know you but who want to know more, this is like a treasure. We're building a repository of, knowledge from experts like you all, right? Then we spoke about marketing. Now Vikas spoke about beautiful things about how do we target different modes, mediums, and methods, multiple things. And Ms. Koili spoke about the framework for costing, a very important aspect. Mr. Sanjeev spoke about overall the relationship of an artist and art and art lover, right? So how is this amalgamating, and what positive things he's looking at on digital platforms? So I would say this is just a beginning for Samanvay Space. This is just a first online art gallery. We're looking for more and more with support from great leaders in the art places, art areas like you. We will be launching more and more videos, interviews, events. We think that's a difference, right? Just blindly going for an online store, we would be no different from an online store. We need some kind of an element attached to it, right? Personal element, art element attached to it. We would like to present many artists coming in. So we're going to be releasing events every week, starting 27th. And please go to the audience, please go visit our preview page, and please look forward for seeing you all on our art gallery too. So with this, I would like to thank Dr. Ashrafi, Mr. Vikas, Mr. Sanjeev, Ms. Vijaya, Ms. Koili. It's been absolutely fabulous having you in the panel today. You all bring so rich experience and passion to the whole thing. you can move rocks, all of you together. It's amazing. So with this, probably I will switch on to the audience. We'll see if we get any questions. Fauziya, please help me out with it
Yeah,
as well.
Mr. Vijay Kumar has a question.
Sure. Okay. So he's got Vijay Kumar. Will give you the mic in a bit. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Vijay Kumar, you can ask a question. Yeah, Mr. Vijay Kumar, you can ask a query. Hello.
It's like he doesn't have his microphone on.
Mr. Vijay Kumar, you can unmute yourself. I think you can go ahead with the vote of thanks.
Sure, definitely. And as usual, for the audience, whoever sees it later, now you can always pose back questions back to us, and we have all the experts who can help answer. We will see how to coordinate. First of all, thank you very much for all the panelists. Like I said, you've just made this panel discussion so rich and memorable to all the audience today. I'm very grateful to have you on the panel. Pavan, I would like to congratulate you on the first online event. I know it's just the beginning, many more to come. Fauziya, you've been a pillar of support, and you've been driving all the art and artists and visual arts, performing arts, bringing all these things together in one place. I would like to congratulate both of you. And of course, I look forward to the 45-day art gallery, online gallery with 29 artists, and I'm sure all of you will enjoy. There are a lot of features we are providing on the website for you to reach out to us. Please make sure you reach out. A special thanks to Bhamani and Atrey for curating the entire show. And I'm telling you, this is no small game. Talking to artists, bringing things together is not at all easy. Amit, for all the technical support, you've been there for all of us. The entire Samanvay team, I would like to congratulate them and look forward to an exciting journey of 45 days of online gallery. Congratulations to all of us, and my hearty thank you to everybody on the panel today.
Thank you.
Thank you.